Dia Gwitch everyone, Kajima Tashiv, and welcome back to episode number 157 of the Inline G, the Flute podcast, with me, your host, your boy, your motherfucking Inline G. And happy USA getting kicked out of the World Cup Day. I mean, that might have aged like milk at this point. I have no idea when this episode's coming out. I'm banking a lot of episodes and going on my holidays. But today's episode, I am so happy that it came about. It was so serendipitous that it all fell in. So 2 episodes ago, or maybe 3, I did a review of Paris Blue, a Memoir of First Love by Judy Scolnik. It's the story of a young American flute player going to study in Paris and falling in love. Brilliant. I really enjoyed it in the end. So if you haven't listened to that episode, I would maybe go listen to that first before you listen to this one. It's a short episode. It's like fucking 20 minutes, right? Because after that episode comes out, guess who agrees to come on the podcast as a guest? Julie, the author herself, is here to correct all the mistakes I made in my review, which there was a fair few of, as well as to chat about the book in general, give us a little more of an insight into her life. She also, I should say, I know you're probably here for this, you might have heard it, she does reveal the identity of that flute teacher that she was talking about in the book, and talks a little bit more about their relationship and what happened. It is a wonderful breath of fresh air and honesty, and I am fucking delighted that Julie did this. So, if you are a regular listener of this podcast, please skip ahead a minute. You know what's about to happen. But listen, if you're new around here, if you're not used to this podcast, please just stay one more minute. Lend me your ears for 1 minute. The Inline G podcast is free. And it will always be free, that is a guarantee. However, if you wish to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address, and for the audio listeners, it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute podcast. The link is in the bio. Listen, lads, I'll be brief here. There is an episode of this podcast every single Friday for the last 3 years. I love making it. It is an absolute labour of love. I adored it. Greatest creative project I've ever undertaken in my life. There are no sponsors on here. Every time a sponsor tries to come on, they're like, we don't want you to swear, we don't want you to talk about this, we don't want to talk about that, we don't want the hate. They can go fuck themselves. There will never be sponsors anymore in this podcast because it is 100% listener funded. We are the biggest flute podcast in the world by quite a bit at this point. And we are 100% listener funded. So, if you listen to this episode, or you listen to a couple of episodes, and you go, fuck, I really enjoyed that, I would buy Gareth a pint if I saw him in the pub to say thank you. Do it online. Sign up to the Patreon. It's $5 a month, whatever that is in your currency, right? Automatically converts. Don't worry about the currency thing. I do this entire podcast on my own. The definition of a small independent podcast, 4 episodes a month. You're getting out of this for £5. It really makes a difference. The people who subscribe are the ones that keep this podcast going. Without it, this podcast would not exist and it wouldn't go further. So if you can afford to do that, please do it. You won't get any extra episodes, I'm afraid, because I do believe the podcast should be for everyone. It's more if you can afford to do it and you want to support it. It's amazingly appreciated. Also, you can sign up for 1 month, unsubscribe immediately, and then that way you only have to give a one-off fee of $5 if you don't want to subscribe permanently. No problems with that. So if you can afford it, please do. If you can't afford it, times are hard, you might be a musician, don't worry. You're going to get to listen for free. Someone else is paying so that you don't have to. It is a system based on kindness and soundness. So, here is this week's Inline G Flute podcast with flutist and author supreme, Julie Scolnik. It's strange, isn't it? Like, I have to say, it was a very honest, like, I think I said that in the review as well. I was quite shocked at the honesty of it. I'm impressed by it, but I am shocked at it.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. I like so many things you said. As it was really fun to be typing your little notes as I was listening to it.
Yeah.
So I love that. Yeah. I think I've gotten a lot of very nice comments about the honesty.
Yeah.
And not only the honesty of the emotions, but there were embarrassing things. The fact that I didn't get over this guy for 30, 50 years.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You know, I've gone to book clubs where these middle-aged women are saying to you, Julie, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why?
I am
And
not middle-aged woman.
that's the phenomenon of the story. I mean, that's why I wrote the story, to explore that, you know.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I had the exact same reaction, but you heard it in my review. Like, as someone who's lived in France for 3 years, like, French men, oh my God. Like, as soon as I read about French men, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. I can feel my eyes actually rolling into my skull with some of the things that happened in that book. And the one that got me the most, which actually, when we're recording this, not all the clips have went out, but there is a clip going on about this. The thing about the Michouz wine.
I loved that.
Oh, man, I felt that in my soul. I felt that so personally.
You so got that scene. I was so impressed with you for understanding the emotion of that scene. You know, my poor father thinking he was doing something nice. But you know, the thing that doesn't, the thing that makes that difficult to explain is that nowadays you can buy a good bottle of wine with a screw-off top.
True.
Right? So back then, there weren't any except bad wines, or at least, you know, in the eyes of the Frenchmen, to see my father unscrew a bottle of wine, that was like the epitome of gauche. But nowadays, I mean, good wine comes in a screw-off top.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, wine's wine. Like, I love wine, but it's the snobbery of it because I can feel it. Like, I don't want to talk, like, as a lot of my French friends listen to this podcast, and a lot of my friends have married French men as well, so I don't want to be too bad about them. But I could feel that. I've been in that situation. I've been in that exact, especially when they're like fish out of water when they leave their own country, and their automatic thing is go immediately defensive. They go super defensive and they go aggressive and they look down at everything. Like, man, you're so unlikable right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead, approach the situation with a bit of curiosity and a bit of wonder, going, "Oh, that's interesting." I fully believe that's a choice to do that. You can choose to enjoy a situation, and for some reason, these French men, they automatically go to this defensive thing. Like,
Oh, you're so
you're not
funny.
impressing anyone. Not impressing anyone, man. But yeah, that's a personal thing, though. I shouldn't have got so annoyed at that. But I just, reading about him, I was like,
I liked it. I loved it that you felt that so deeply.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah. Okay. I want to get this out of the way first. What did I get wrong in the book? Please tell in my review, because in my defense, I think you heard me say in the podcast, I thought it was a book that it wasn't. I got my books confused.
Yeah, so, I love that. That's hilarious.
I mean, when I was reading the review, there was a part of it where I was even going, what fucking book am I talking about now? I really got it wrong. So I am going to read the other book because that woman has read that book and that does exist, but I got you confused with someone else. So
it's hilarious.
So what did I get wrong? Please tell me.
Well, no, you didn't get anything actually wrong. He was only 30. He was probably 29.
Not
40. No, he was just 10 years older than I was. And he, you know, he only had a 3-year-old kid. He had the kid when he was in his mid-20s.
Interesting.
So, yeah, not an older man at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the only other thing that I tried to correct you with my texting to you was I would not have called that a rape. That was it was definitely an early version of Me Too, except that the guy was not saying, you know, if you sleep with me, I'll get you jobs in the opera orchestra. It wasn't that kind of holding power over me, but he was my teacher. He was twice my age. And I felt I wanted to say no, and I didn't know how.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't a rape because at any time I really could have said, go home. I don't want this. But I didn't know how to do that. So you could feel the emotion of this 19-year-old girl and how stuck she was. And she didn't know what to do about it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah, I think by the legal definition of rape, it wouldn't obviously fall into it. Culturally, I suppose we're looking at this as well I'm looking at it from modern eyes in 2026, where if this had happened, it's unthinkable. Like, this would be a scandal. While if you're like in the 70s and 80s, especially in France, this was kind of par for the course.
He probably did it with every student he had. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, we can talk about this if you want. So we've talked a little bit off camera. In the book, you refer to this professor you went to study with as Lefebvre, which is obviously a fake name.
Yeah.
And that's just for making sure you didn't want to cause defamation cases and blah, blah, blah. Do you feel comfortable telling us who it was? Like, obviously, I think everyone knows, to be honest, but...
Really? I'm not sure people do, but it depends on if you are plugged into that era. Yeah. You know, there were 4 flute teachers at the school at that time. Andras Dorian, Marion, what was this? Alain Marion,
yeah.
Yep. Rampal came for a couple of weeks. And then the last one was Maxence Larrieu, and he was the guy.
Yeah. So to give you a bit of context, I put out a clip from the podcast about this, talking about a male French prominent teacher. When I read it first, I thought it was Pierre-Yves Artaud. I was convinced on that.
Wouldn't he have been much younger?
Maybe a bit too young, although he was a bit of a, like, I mean, he's still alive, obviously, as well, Pierre, but he was a bit of a prodigy and he was teaching quite early on. And to be honest, when I think of that, that's the one that comes to mind, because there's been all kinds of rumors and allegations.
To tell you the truth, I know it's hard to explain this very well, but even though I've had a long career as a flutist, I have run my own chamber music series for 30 years in Boston. And what that did was it took me away from the everyday gossip about orchestra world. I have zero interest in
Good.
who is who and who plays where. And so to tell you the truth, I don't even know Artaud. I really don't. I knew the
Okay.
people from my era,
Okay.
but I never followed who plays in the orchestras around the world. I keep a blind. I couldn't care less. In fact,
Good.
I was happy to get away from that
I was
world
about
and
to say,
create my own thing. So,
that's very
yeah,
cool. Okay. Well, then you're lucky. To be honest, okay, I'm going to say this to my listeners as well now because this might end up being quite a big deal. The reason I didn't say who I thought it was in the last podcast is because there is certain legal things around podcast. It sort of lies in that grey area of being media, but being blah blah blah. But a lot of people have reached out to me saying if you're telling your own personal stories about what happened to you, that is not defamation. That is not illegal. And I have
yeah,
looked at legal advice for this many
yeah.
times because I've covered these in different countries. So I'm happy to say now who I was talking about was Pierre-Yves Artaud. And there is an article out there about him. We all know it's Pierre-Yves Artaud. It's everywhere. He was really known for, but this is like monstrous stuff. The stuff
Oh,
he was up to
I
is.
did not even know that. No.
I'll send you a link to
Yeah.
the article actually
Yeah.
because I've got the French one. There's an article about 10 years ago, which was awful. I mean, like this was rape. This was very,
Yeah.
very obviously rape over like a couple of generations. So I immediately thought of that. Now, when you told me it was Maxence Larrieu, you're not the first person to say it. You're not the first person to tell me they've had a weird incident with him. Again, not what we're talking about Artaud. We're not going that far into it. But certainly an abuse of power.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, just so you know, you're not the first person that's ever said that to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a name that has been coming up quite a lot when I've done this research and I've talked to people about it.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about telling people now that it's not you?
Couldn't care less. I was planning on, I think in the back of my mind, I didn't make a big announcement about it. But I think in the back of the mind, I thought that when he finally dies, and people, I don't have a lot of affection for him. Some people say, "Oh,
Well,
I've always
obviously.
had a soft spot." Not at all, zero. But
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you, sometimes somebody dies, like Robert Stallman. Do you know that name?
Yes, I remember that name, yeah.
So many accolades. Oh, maybe this isn't the time to do that. It's just that there are so many accolades that roll in. Yeah, especially after a person has had an early death
Yeah.
or that. And I feel sometimes tempted to say, he was trying to seduce every one of his 14-year-old students
Yeah.
Anyway, so, bring down the idolatry of some of these guys. So I don't mind
100%.
telling people it was Larrieu.
But you know what? I'm a little bit inspired by the fact that you're saying it now because I feel a bit more open to talk about the ones that I've been
Good.
told about.
Yeah.
So good. Let's revisit that a little bit if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
and we can talk a little bit about that because I think that's certainly that resonated most with me. And even though it is a very short part of the book, it does, it's a huge event that happened within it. And as a flute player, that's obviously the bit that I was looking at.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened and how it all...
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's see. It was my second summer at Nice. I had gone when I was 17. I was so much younger. It didn't stand out in the class. I didn't feel comfortable in my body and all sorts of things. And then 2 years later, I came back and I was just kind of a different person. I was now confident. I had discovered my sexuality, so to speak. I had my first boyfriend. I was thin and leggy and tanned, and I felt really comfortable in my body. And then I was a much better flutist, and Larrieu noticed, and he just kept giving me compliments every time I came into the master class. And it was one of those really gross things where the master class teacher says something. So when I played, he'd say something and the whole audience would laugh. And it was always something really sexist, like, "Oh, 2 years ago you played like a little girl. Now you play like a woman." It was just these really revolting things.
Yeah.
Or like, "Oh, no." Like I played almost the entire Reinecke sonata and I was feeling really good about it. And he said, "Oh, it's beautiful. It's passion you have to show." And I said, "No, I understand." He goes, "Well, of course you do." And then the audience would laugh. And it was like this disgusting dynamic between teacher and audience where they could get away with anything.
Yeah.
And everyone looked up to them and bowed down to them. And it was revolting, but I didn't know that back then.
Yeah.
I was smitten.
You're
I was
19.
smitten by the attention that he gave me. And, when I walked into class, he'd take me by the arm and turn around and say, "Goodbye. See you all later. We're going to the beach," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It makes me roll my eyes now. But back then I was, I was flattered and I was smitten. So the day that he said, "Let's go to the beach," at the end of a master class, I said, "Okay," and I wanted to wear a sign on my back that said, "This is not what it looked like." He drove his little red convertible into the round driveway of this beautiful conservatory building called Il Paradiso. It was just a beautiful building, which sadly I saw recently. I went back to see it. It was all abandoned and overgrown, and the shutters were peeled paint and everything. But anyway, so he drove his car up to the little half round driveway, and I got in with him, and the students saw me drive away with the teacher, and it was so humiliating. And little did I know that we were going to go to the beach and that he was going to seduce me in the back of my little villa. But, it was just that one little, literally 5 minutes in the back of the garden.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more, that he had invited me to go hear a concert an hour away from Nice in, I don't know, maybe it was Saint Paul de Vence or something romantic and exciting to me. And I thought it would be more than just those 5 minutes in the garden. And then we were all sitting around a table with all the flutists after the last class. And he said, "Oh, just found out I have to go back to Paris tomorrow." And I went, it was supposed to be a few days after that. And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "Yes. Oh, it's such a pity. Julie and I were going to go to Saint Paul de Vence. Oh, we can't go." And then it sunk into me how brief and quick and inconsequential that little moment had been. And so I was young and impressionable, and I was very upset. It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
It's absolutely not embarrassing. This story comes up a lot, first of all. And it's something I think about quite often because I'm a teacher now. I'm 33. I still feel like I'm 21, but I am 33.
Baby.
So,
okay.
But the thing is, I have students who are like 17, 18, 19. And it's unthinkable to me to even go near them because they're kids, man. They're fucking kids. Even at 19, really. If you see a 19-year-old now, you're like, man, that's not an adult. They think they're an adult. Bless them. They really do. And they think they're great, but they're fucking idiots at 19. Everyone's an idiot at 19. And it's an abuse of power, and you're so aware of the control. I'm aware that I have control over my students. They look up to me, and I'm not Maxence Larrieu.
Right.
So obviously when this massive star comes up to you, they are very aware of the fact they're playing that card. And also we're artists, so it's very easy to confuse the love of an artist for the love of the person.
I was just going to say, and not only that, but the reverse. What flattered me most is that he liked my playing, not that he thought I was a cute 19-year-old. He loved my playing. He loved my sound. And so that's what made me feel so good. Exactly.
Of course. Yeah, but that's, a lot of the time it's dog shit. I mean, so first of all, I wouldn't be embarrassed about it. It's an incredibly common story. And I'm assuming, have you talked to people about it in the years that followed about what happened with Maxence?
Well, no, not really. It's funny what people, for me, it is a very, very tiny part of the book and of my life, to tell you the truth. So I don't think about it. I don't talk about it. If somebody like you, who's more interested than most, asked me, I'm plenty willing to talk about it in full, but it doesn't interest me that much. In fact, I'm getting really bored with this part of it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious, well, if you've talked to other people over the years, if you found that the same thing happened with other people, because that's what I've heard.
I see. Well, no, I haven't compared notes with other flutists who were my age who knew him. Then I don't think he was actually regularly sleeping with girls my age, but I do think that he had a little soft spot for me. I think he ended up marrying one of his students. So, it did happen, right? Yeah. He left his wife. I remember the way she looked at me when I came to his apartment for lessons. She was just like, and once my flute was stolen out of a taxi and I didn't know who to call. So I showed up at his apartment to tell him, so I was using him as a bit of a father figure too,
Yeah, but of course you are.
And the wife just looked at me, with glaring, "Why are you here?" I said, "Well, I need to talk to Monsieur Larrieu. I left my flute in a taxi," and something.
But even the fact that she's nervous, she doesn't look at that and go, well, it's obviously a student in need. She's not going, that's going, it's a 20-year-old attractive American girl, and I know what my husband's like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a different thing, yeah.
I didn't tell you, there is a little addendum to this, which you might think is quite funny. So instead of, deciding I was going to be when I first got to Paris to study for the year, and he wanted to take right up where we had left off. And stupidly, I kind of felt it never actually happened, but he did come to my little apartment, and I didn't even have an apartment. I had a little room in an old lady's apartment.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I couldn't do that. I said, "No, he said, you probably are still mad at me from the Nice thing." And I said, I couldn't even speak French back then, really. Yeah. And he said, "I'm really sorry. I know that wasn't love. And I said, "Let's just not talk about it." And, I even met him at one of his recording sessions. I remember exactly what it was. It was Beethoven's Serenade with the two Pasquier brothers. And he said, can you meet me at my recording session? And I said, okay, because I'm an idiot and I didn't know what else to say. And then he tried to do something. And I finally realized that I just absolutely had to draw the line and show him that I was just not interested. And then the interesting part about the rest of the story is that when I did have this older French boyfriend who was 10 years older, and it was clear to Larrieu that I had an actual relationship with the older Frenchman. Then he realized that I didn't just reject him because he was older in French and I was like a kind of a uptight American girl with morals. It was because I just didn't like him. That's why I rejected him. And that put him in the absolute worst state. He was rude to me. Because remember in the book, I told you that I brought this boyfriend with me to a lesson.
Yeah.
And Larrieu was absolutely, didn't know how to act. He was so humiliated, basically.
Yeah.
And the following week, he told me I hadn't paid the week before. I said, I paid. I put the money on. And then, and Jacques, his real name is Jacques, my French guy.
Okay.
Not Luc. Jacques had kind of put him in his place for saying these ridiculous anti-Semitic things about Barenboim and Zubin Mehta. And Jacques was really good at putting people down. Yeah. I mean, we're not giving Jacques any medals, as you know, but he did hate Larrieu instinctively without even knowing what had happened.
That's so interesting.
Without even knowing. He just said, I hate that guy. And he wouldn't let him get away with these remarks about, he said something like, Daniel Barenboim brings all his little Jewish friends to conduct. And of course, his Zubin Mehta's not Jewish. He's Indian. So it was just a stupid thing to say. So anyways, a bunch of bad Frenchmen.
Yeah, I mean, that's always it's something I find to be a very interesting dynamic is when you bring someone who's not from that like flute classical music conservatoire world into it, and they see the people, they're like, these are all dickheads.
Yeah,
because we put these people on pedestals, like they're amazing people, they're artists, they're geniuses. Like, no, he's just an asshole, man.
Yeah,
that's all they are. Because they're seeing it.
You know what else, Gareth? The other thing is when I went back to France maybe 10 years later, and I went and listened to Larrieu in a concert, and I didn't even like his playing. I went, what? Why did I think that was good playing? The only reason I studied with him is because I thought I loved his playing. He had this slow vibrato. Wow.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so terrible. And I even said something down. I said, wow, that movement was, like he played the, I've since, can we please talk about the good stuff now? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I recorded all the Bach sonatas with my daughter, who's an amazing pianist. Now that was fun. I got to play the Bach sonatas the way I really always wanted to hear them, and I really loved doing it. Well, he played something, he must have been playing the Bach sonatas at that concert. One of them was probably one of the really beautiful movements from the G minor sonata that some people say is not even Bach, but da-dee-da-da, right? And he played it like it was almost an allegro. And then when he had one long note, he was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I went, what the hell? How did I even think this guy was any good? So
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
I mean, of course he played well back then. And he was so pleased with himself at those at those lessons. He was always bragging about his playing. And, we put on a recording for me where he was 17. He goes, yeah, not bad for a 17-year-old. These guys,
Man, I've had the exact same experience with a teacher once, and it was an older man. He put on a recording of himself. Like, mate, I'm paying you €80 an hour. Would you shut the fuck? I can find that on Spotify. Fuck off.
Exactly.
Seriously, what are you talking about? I don't care. He's like, yeah, not bad. I'm like, man, I don't care if it's not bad. I'm not paying you for that. Tell me how to play the fucking flute. Time's money here, man.
Exactly.
But it's ego. It's a shocking amount of ego involved in it.
Yeah.
And there's also, and you said, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not important. But the little tidbit that I wanted to tell you. So I went to I saw him again. It's so strange, but his son at that point, let's see, I must have been around, maybe it was 20 years later. I don't know why I looked him up. I don't know. He had a son who was 20 years old.
Uh-huh.
And maybe I was 30. Yeah, that must have been something like that. I don't know. The son had grown up.
Yeah.
And the son kept trying to see me. And the son wouldn't leave me alone after the concert, saying, well, can I go with you? And then meanwhile, the father was trying to say, no, don't tell him where you live. It was just the craziest thing you ever saw. It was just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, again, not a unique story. I've heard variations on the same theme as well.
Yeah.
One thing I'm really glad to see in France, especially, is more female principal flutes and people, female teachers in major conservatoires. Because I don't want to be that person, but honestly, never hear these stories about women. This just never happens. It never happens. And most of the French men in these conservatoires, I don't know if being French makes it worse, but there's something about it that when they have this like there's already a natural arrogance that comes with French culture, which can be a very beautiful thing as well if it's done right. Confidence, arrogance. But when you mix that with the ego of being these superstars, you're just like, man, of course you've done something. Look at you. Like, of course, like the arrogance, the ego you have, of course you would. And it's so valued in France as well. You know, I was talking recently to someone, I'm going to talk about your big game, and just as an interesting tidbit to like French culture, because I was at a wedding near Bordeaux recently, and we're in the car talking about like politics and German politics and all that's going on there. And then I was saying, like, isn't it so funny that Macron, we haven't really seen that much of a scandal with like having an affair, because it was a tradition. It was valued in France that the prime minister or the president always had an affair. They were always seeing like a Vespa coming out of some mistress's house, and then the paparazzi would catch him, and the approval ratings went up. Like François Hollande, it went up. It was respected in French culture to be like, yeah, well, he's got a wife, but he's obviously got a mistress. He's passionate. He's a lover of pleasure in life.
Exactly.
Like, man, he's a fucking wanker. That's what he is. Like, rule, like, stop it. Pull the other one. Like, but the French, it's valued in that society. Certainly, the womanizing stuff. It's very like, oh, they're a bit of a womanizer. Like,
oh yeah, wink, wink. Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll not go too much. Unless there's anything you want to add to all that, we'll try and say something positive here after.
About that. Well, you know, I should have. In looking back, I wished that I had gone to the conservatory. You know, I was on this American university program. It was, and I took these amazing courses with really respected French scholars. Roland Barthes was one of. I mean, they were big shots in the intellectual world. Who I don't know how they got these guys to come to agree to teach these classes of American students, but they did. So I was doing a lot of that and just taking these private lessons on the side. I would have been a lot smarter to, spend a year at the conservatory and have a different teacher and play chamber music, play in the orchestra. And it's just stupid that way. But, you know, one of those regrets in life.
Yeah, but also you're so young. Like when I moved to Paris, this is actually something I do want to talk about is, like you're so young. When I was 22 when I moved to Paris, or 23.
Yeah.
And even then, I look back, it's young. Paris swallows you up entirely. Yeah. It's such a beast of a city. It's such an amazing place to live, but it can be very easy to be swept up by it all.
Were you studying privately also? Or
No, I was at the conservatoire.
Yeah.
So
good for you. Yeah.
I had the protection.
You're so young. You're younger than my daughter. You're older than my son.
Thank you for saying I'm young, by the way, because last night I was out drinking with a conductor of all people. I bumped into him in the Irish pub, and his friend was like, "What is you, like 45?" And excuse me a second, man. I'm 33. This is what a young man looks like in the north of Ireland.
You don't look 45. Anyway, I've got a son who's 2 years younger than you.
Okay.
And he's a conductor.
Seriously, I'm going to have to go and follow us. Now you've said you recorded with your daughter, because again, these are characters. These are not actual people. And I forget that these are real people doing real things.
Oh, right. So you met my kids in the book when they were just little children.
Exactly.
And now my daughter's 35. And
that's insane.
And she's my favorite pianist, you know. And my son's a conductor. My son is Simon Rattle's assistant in Munich with the Bavarian Radio Symphony. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
And you can look him up. His first name is Sasha. Are you? Do you like boys or girls? Am I allowed to ask you that?
I'm straight. Yeah, you can.
You're
of course, you can ask.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you trying to set me up with your son?
No, the only reason I asked, I thought you were straight immediately when I heard you. The only reason I started to wonder is when you said, "Oh, Frenchmen." I could tell you stories about Frenchmen.
Oh, you would have thought. I
thought you meant Frenchmen in the romantic.
No.
Milieu.
Oh God, no. Definitely not. No.
Okay.
No, don't worry. You're not the first person. It's not even a mistake. I don't take it personally at all. If someone thinks I'm gay. It's not. That's not an insult.
Well, I actually didn't. And also with the Irish accent, there's no gaydar in there. You know what I mean?
That's it. That's true. Yeah, it's hard to.
In the States, I can tell in 2 seconds just by speech. I mean, I know you're saying that, but don't you normally tell people you cannot tell, but you can? Well, anyway,
of course, I have a great gaydar. I can pick up on them straight away. I can get them a mile off.
Yeah.
And also, it's been an issue, not an issue in this podcast, but it's been one thing, a lot of people assume I'm gay because I'm not super macho and I don't lean into being super macho. I mean, I love football and I love beer, but I come from Ireland. But I don't feel the need to prove my masculinity. I don't give a fuck, really.
Got it.
So a lot of older men listen to this podcast, and I know, right, I get a message from them, and I'm like, right, start the clock. How many messages is going to be in before they say something weird?
Oh, I get you.
And we're
They want to
talking
know.
maybe 2
They
or
want to
3.
find out. Well, you're so much fun and you're so warm. And maybe they take, even my husband, I was giving him 5 seconds of you. I said, look at this funny guy. He's so much fun. I love this Irish podcaster. He wants to talk to me. And he said, oh, yeah, I like him immediately. You know, you're very likable immediately.
I'm glad. Yeah. Let's talk about Paris.
Okay.
So where are you now, actually? You're in France?
I'm in the south of France, in Provence.
Oh, you're in
we
Provence.
are very, very, very lucky to own a house here.
Oh,
so I
stop,
spent,
Julie.
I know, I'm sorry. Well, listen, I like you so much. I'll let you come use the house. It's in a beautiful, beautiful village. It's paradise. It is paradise. And
Provence I've been to once. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's been horrible. The heat wave has been awful. Even
here. You've had like canicule last week.
Yeah, it's been awful. And I have to play a concert here in 1 week. And I just had to it's my 19th time in this little village of playing a concert for the village. And it's so much fun. I used to play with my kids, piano, cello, flute. And now they won't give me the time of day for this kind of thing. So I'm playing with other people. But we just made the decision yesterday. Normally the concert is outside under the stars with the seagulls, the cicadas, and the beautiful gentle wind blowing the trees. We had to make a decision to do it indoors in an ugly space that's air conditioned, because last year I played in like 97 degrees. Do you do Fahrenheit or centigrade?
No, we do Celsius. Yeah,
Celsius, centigrade.
So
anyway, it was something like 36 degrees or something like that. And I almost died, so I decided ever again. Brutal is right. So we're going to play it indoors this time.
Ooh, I refuse to believe there's an ugly building in Provence. So
Well, this was just built for plays and little events and things. So it's not one of these beautiful stone buildings like our house is.
Okay.
Our house is like 500 years old.
Do you know, actually, my teacher at the École Normale was telling me before I can't remember if this was on air or not, but it was Catherine Canton, who was principal for the opera. I think she's still down there. There's a conservatoire in Provence, and she started working there part-time, like half-time there and half-time at Paris, basically because she wanted to get an apartment in Provence.
Is it Avignon, do you know, or Lyon? Maybe Lyon. I bet it's Lyon.
No, it's not Lyon.
Oh, not Lyon.
No.
Could it be X? It's either
It might be an X. It might be an X, to be honest.
X makes sense, I guess. Or
how far
Avignon,
away from
I don't know.
Aix-en-Provence?
Or maybe Avignon. It's true. Lyon is not Provence anymore. But anyway.
How far are you? How are you close to X?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Okay. I think, you're saying, I think it is Aix-en-Provence. There's a conservatoire there, and they got like a new program and stuff. She's down there. And she was very open about it. She's like, I'm cutting my time. It was the year I left. She just got the job. She's like, I'm cutting my time here half because I'm in my 60s now, and I want to go and live in Provence. And I'm just kidding. It's the easiest job in the world down there. And you just live in the sun and drink wine and eat lavender cake all day.
Yeah.
And it sounds great.
That is so cute. It's just so funny. She's 60 because I think I was 20. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. I was 20. I thought she was basically my age. Was that a while? Oh, that was a while ago.
That was
right?
a couple of years
ago.
Katrina be. She must be 70 now, would she?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I remember she was, or at least just under 70 or something like that. I think I remember she was a couple of years younger than I was, and everybody was impressed that she got the job. Or something.
Yeah, I know. It's someone I would love to get in this podcast because Katrina has the most amazing story, but her English, she's not comfortable in English. And I would do a French episode. I'd be very happy to do it, but my entire audience is going to be
listeners. Yeah,
I'm going to have to get a new audience in just to speak French for one episode. So but I've spoken, like I've had drinks with her and stuff and spoke to her and heard her stories. Unbelievable. Like being a 19-year-old woman, getting the principal flute job at Paris in the opera and in the 70s in France.
Yeah.
As well. Like the stuff she went through, it's wild. Yeah. But anyway, when you moved to Paris, tell me about moving to Paris. Because do you know what? It feels a little bit like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Emily in Paris TV show.
Of course.
Do you hate it or do you love it?
Oh, of course. You love to hate it, basically.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Or you hate to love it. Everybody I know says the same thing. They watch every episode and they hate watch it. You hate watch it. For one thing, it's so much fun. How can you not enjoy watching it? If you love Paris, even if you don't love Paris, the way they glorify every scene and every every shot of Montmartre, and
I know.
it's so much fun. And the clothing and the fashion and everything is hilarious. I love it. But of course, it's so annoying. I think, tell you the truth, I know there are French people who say everything's a stereotype. I think a lot of the stereotypes are so spot on. Don't
Bang on.
you?
Very are. That's
Bang
exactly what I was
on,
about to
bang
say.
on. Exactly. I mean, some of them are hilarious. Like Sylvie says, "No, I'm just going to have a cigarette for lunch." That kind of thing is hilarious, or stepping in shit. But there's certain things that were so bang on, like when she went to the countryside in Champagne to meet the family of the girlfriend of the guy that she liked so much, and there were certain things that the mother just. Oh, I just thought they were so familiar to me. Those
honestly,
characters.
I remember, like, for me, it was bang on. It was totally bang on. The French love to hear, like, oh, we're not really like that. Like, you are, by the way. You're entirely like that. That's entirely French culture.
Yeah.
But also, watching it, I got the same experience with your memoir is, because I don't live in Paris anymore.
Yeah.
And I visit a lot, but I'm still not living there. It's like looking at an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, I love living in Paris, and when I arrived there, and when I read your book, it put me right back into that world.
Yeah,
of being
that's
like,
what I love.
Before you got it bang on, like some of the
Thank you
descriptions.
so much.
I think I said in the review, I even looked up some of the streets. So I was like, is that a real street? Is that actually there? It was all bang on.
I loved that you said that and that you noticed, because one of the great compliments I get from people is that it brought them back to Paris, and that the whole book itself brought back their own true stories of first love. And I've had these middle-aged straight men tell me they couldn't stop sobbing at the end because they had a transatlantic story themselves. They lived between two cultures.
Wow.
They had something that was unresolved and they couldn't get over it. And so that's my greatest compliment. All right. So I'll just tell you quickly. I mean, I know you know already, but maybe for your listeners that, so I was 20 when I arrived in Paris, and of course it was like a dream. I loved it. I'd never lived in any big city. I'd only lived in these, I'm a girl from Maine, and I only knew these green campuses of my boarding school. I went to boarding school because my schools were so bad in Maine. And I went to a beautiful college with green rolling campuses. So being in a city where I had access to everything at my fingertips was like being in a dream. But what happened after 3 months of that, of wandering around hours and hours and hours and hours, what you do in Paris, I have to show you my cute cat. She's so sorry. I'll do that later. She's trying to get my attention.
Please do.
It started to get really depressing. The sun stayed away for week after week after week, and I started to get really depressed and lonely, and wondered what the hell, how can I be here for an entire year? I needed something to fill the void because I wasn't with other musicians. I was just taking these private lessons and practicing by myself. So I found a chorus, and I looked hard for that chorus. And when I found the chorus, it was huge. It was like it opened up this whole new world. I felt as if I were home with people who loved to sing, and we sang all these great pieces. Whoa,
hello.
No. Sorry about that.
Okay,
I'm glad she didn't disconnect us. Daphne. My cats are named Daphne and Chloe, just by the way.
Okay. I know. I think there's an acknowledgement in the book for them.
Oh, really?
There's somewhere.
Oh, maybe my bio. Yeah, on my little bio.
Yeah.
So anyway, I joined this chorus, and the second rehearsal or third rehearsal, it was a love at first sight thing, where I saw this man at the edge of the bass section, and I just couldn't look away. And it became such an obsession that after a couple of weeks, he was just in his own little world. He didn't talk to anybody. He just threw his coat on over his arm and left before anyone else. And there was so much allure and mystery. So I had to talk to him. And so I tapped him on the shoulder. And then he was an entirely different person. He was warm. He smiled. He asked if he could drive me home. And that began the actual story of the book. And I don't need to go into the detail. But what happened is that we started having English lessons. He needed to learn English in all the parks and cafes. And we read beautiful poetry by Wordsworth. And it was extremely romantic. And we weren't touching each other at all. It was just intense, slow, delicious, slow dance. And he was very correct. He was not at all the cliched Frenchman that we were just talking about, who thinks they can wine and dine a young American girl and do what he wants with her. That was not what this story was at all, as you know.
Yeah.
But I like to tell people that before they read it, because it looks like it's going to be a cliche. Like you said, that was the other thing I wanted to yell at you about, because you said it's a little cliche. It's not. It's not cliche. At
What
least,
what bit did I say was cliche? You told me that
well,
in
you
Mesh, I can't
said
remember.
you were a little bit worried that some of your readers were not going to like this kind of book. So you were
Yeah.
kind of saying at the very end, you were saying, you love this book and you really said you loved it. But you said, but for some of you, it may not be your cup of tea. It's a cliche. It's a girl. It's an American girl in Paris. It looks like it's going to be a cliche, but I wish
Yeah.
you had just said, but it's not the book you think it's going to be. That's all.
Okay, that is
Okay.
true.
Okay.
Yeah, the
And,
synopsis, the idea of it is a little bit cliche.
yeah.
But I
And,
mean, I don't mean cliche as an insult either. Cliches exist for a
okay.
reason. Like Paris is one massive cliche.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. But anyway, so this guy was not that guy, but he was married and he had a kid. And so that was a big deal. And we finally entered into something much more physical and romantic, although that wasn't a very big part of our relationship, believe it or not. It's hard to believe, but it was true. And part of it was that he was still married and he was still maintaining appearances at home. Even though his wife wasn't living with him, there must have been a thing where they talked about the kid or she called him or something, because he definitely wanted to be there at night. Like he would come to my little maid's room between, say, 5 and 7 in the evening.
Yeah.
That's a cliche.
Yes.
But yeah,
yes,
but we would have these English lessons, believe it or not, and we'd read poetry, and then I'd walk him to the bus stop, and he'd say, it was quite a beautiful story, for me at that time. And of course, I was completely in love, and it was my very first time. I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't eat, and I couldn't study, and I couldn't do my papers, and it was a very big deal. And by the time I went home in June, I was sure there would never be any other love in my life. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell any more of this story, but suffice it to say, I mean, I will if you want me to. Suffice it to say to your readers or your listeners, do you have many listeners?
Yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah, okay. We're doing all right.
Okay. I hope you will read the book. I'm just saying that everyone tells me they read it in 1 or 2 days or 3, like you said, and that they couldn't put it down, because I love what you said to your listeners, that each chapter begins with a letter that I will have gotten from him later.
Yeah.
And it kind of sets the scene for what is about to happen.
That was really fun.
And then that makes people think, what's going to happen now?
That was a really cool literary technique.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. And that's one of the reasons the book started to work, because what I didn't tell you is that I tried to publish this book 20 years ago and failed.
Okay.
I've been writing this book for 40 years. Kind of. I started it when I was 22 after this thing ended, and then I put it away, and then I'd take it out every 5 or 10 years and work on it, put it away. And then about 20 years ago, I got serious about it, and it had so much extra stuff from my life in it, everything but the kitchen sink. And that was before I read a book about what a memoir is, and I learned that a memoir is about one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that I had to cut 100 pages, get rid of everything that didn't have exactly to do with this story. Like back in the bad version, I had one chapter about each bad boyfriend post Jacques in my 20s, everything that happened when I met my husband. I cut it all, and it was just boom.
That's
it made
why.
it clear. And then I got a new title, and finally the title came to me. Back in the olden days, my title was A Certain Shade of Blue.
Okay.
And then 50 Shades of Grey came out, and I said, I can't use this anymore. So I got rid of that. And one day I was driving in my car, and I went, oh, Paris Blue. I knew exactly what the point of the blue was going to be. And I don't want to tell your listeners, because wasn't that a bit of an aha moment for you when so there's a reason for that. It's not, look, I happen to be holding my book. It's not because, the blues, Paris, sad, lonely, depressed. Nothing to do with that. There's another little reason that becomes a metaphor to this guy.
That was fun. Yeah.
Has a handicap. We won't tell you what it is.
No, I don't want to give too much away. I really don't.
Yeah.
Because some people have actually bought the book as well. Like, people have messaged me saying it's on the way. So I've said them up. Please send me a message and let me know how you get on with it.
Thank you. Thank you. But I owe you. Actually, go ahead.
I mean, the thing about the Paris Blue, again, this is me totally misunderstanding the situation and thinking I'm reading the book that I'm not reading. But the blue, I thought it was like a dirty thing. Because the way, like, blue movies, blue this. And I was like, this is a sexy book. This is a dirty book.
Oh, yeah.
And I was convinced there's going to be
there's no sex.
I'm like, where's the sex?
There's no sex in this book. I know. Well, guess what? Believe it or not, I have so many good things to tell you. I thought about inserting some sex scenes, but guess what? I was told that, number one, I thought about my husband, my family, my children, and I decided to keep it PG. And a lot of people said, you know what? They were so relieved there wasn't any heavy breathing in there. There were just these scenes where, it started up in the little maid's room, and then an hour later I walked into the bus. And that's how I told the reader, we had sex in that little maid's room. But, I have something good to tell you. This book might be made into a movie. I have
no fucking way.
Yeah, I have 2 Canadian movie producers who are serious about it. And they're looking for their screenwriter right now. They started looking last summer, but they finally got the first choice to say, I can't take it on. I love this book, but I can't do it. I'm too busy. So now they're on their second person. It's a glacial process. It takes,
if you could
I will be like 80 years old by the time it comes out, if it happens.
Okay, yeah, I know, especially these days.
I'll be like that lady, the lady in Titanic, the old lady. That'll be me telling the story.
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Okay, so just then, if you could have unlimited budget for your movie, who's going to play you?
I know exactly who the answer is.
Really?
Do you know Daisy Edgar Jones?
Yeah, of course, man. Daisy Edgar Jones from Normal People.
Yes.
Fuck,
wouldn't she be fantastic? The problem is
great at accents as well. Brilliant at accents.
She is. Is she American or English?
She's English, but she does an Irish accent in Normal People, and it was perfect.
And I've heard her do an American accent too. I think she could be fantastic. Unfortunately, what's tricky about casting is that they have to find somebody who could play 20, but also 50.
Yeah.
That's tricky.
I mean, Daisy Edgar Jones could do anything, so.
I think she can. Yeah. And the way she played that unglamorous, young, inexperienced girl in Normal People is exactly that, the Julie character of Arriving in Paris. Do you know what I mean? Without makeup and all that kind of thing. But, you know, she's so famous now that they'd never get her, I don't think.
Yeah, maybe the budget doesn't stretch with Daisy, does it?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure it's the budget as much as she's just got too many good projects on the fires. And I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, see, maybe, I think she's still good friends with Paul Mescal. So I'm sure I know someone who knows Paul Mescal. I'm sure we can work it out. I mean, it's Ireland we're talking about. I mean, I'm never 2 degrees separation away.
Hey, you're my in with her.
Maybe.
See if you can get me, see if I can send her a book. All we want her to do is read the book. All she has to do is tell somebody, I want to play this part, and they'll listen to her. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Okay.
That's how sometimes it works that way, like from the actress first, if they're that famous,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have we think about it, because I mean, I know Paul Mescal lives in London, and when you're Irish, it's great. You can always find another Irish person. There's always someone who knows someone. It's a bit of a cheat code.
Irish are the best. Irish are the best.
Yeah, we're having a good moment. To be honest, we are. We are the best. We are, because in the minute we're having a good moment, we really are.
Yeah.
It's very nice to be Irish. In the minute, it's very cool to be Irish. We're having our wee moment in the sun, which is great.
No, I'm surprised you haven't come around to the question that everybody answers. Do we have to stop at 12, by the way?
No,
we do not
go
have
for
to.
A bit longer
you
now.
can cut the stuff that you don't like later and make it, or you don't even care. Doesn't have to be an hour. Okay. I thought, and everybody says 2 things.
Go.
And they do it in kind of a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
Does Jacques know you wrote this book? That's the first thing. And the second one is, how did your husband let you write this book? And so both are valid, really good questions. Number one, with my husband, he's such a cool guy that he would never say it's his right to tell me not to write it, because it's my story.
But even the fact that during the story that your husband is cool with you going to visit Luc or Jacques in Paris and involve him in your daughter's life and all that you get that vibe off your husband straight away then.
Unbelievable, right?
And
I don't believe that I could ever do that. And by the way,
Julie, I would rather fucking die. If my girlfriend comes back and says she's going to Paris to visit an ex-boyfriend, I'm like, well, you can go fuck yourself, right? You can stay over there. That's what you can do. I'll change the locks for you coming back. I hope you enjoy it.
Exactly. I am so totally with you. That would be me as well. Anyway, but by the way, Gareth, before I get to the second question about him, you were so much fun that I'm just going to tell you right now that, do you know what Substack is?
Yes.
Substack.
Yeah.
I just started my own Substack.
Ah, cool.
And I have 4 essays. And one of them is about losing my passport. It's just this long story. Yeah. I'm going to tell every story I have because I have so many good ones. But one of them is about losing my passport and how it caused us so much headache. And the passport was in my suitcase all along, one of those things. But the main thing I took away from this story was that my husband never yelled at me about any of it. Never made me feel bad. I would have screamed at him. I would have said, "You idiot! You idiot!"
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a little aside.
I mean, the one small thing I would have, if I could change anything or add anything to the book, it would be nice to have a little bit of a chapter at the end highlighting how you feel like you've won with your husband. You've got the right decision and the right man won out in the end.
You know what? I love that you're saying that, but everyone else felt it was implied.
It is,
the very
yeah.
fact that I came home and he was lying in bed and he said, "How was the opera?" Then he said, "How was," in his sleep, "How was Luke?"
Yeah.
Meaning that was just such an accepting thing. Here I was. I mean,
Yeah.
little did he know that I hadn't slept with the guy in his hotel room. You know what I mean? And it didn't even occur to him to wonder. And he just
That's incredible.
he
Before,
felt
yeah.
that it was just my right to explore my past and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Anyway,
So tell me, does Jacques or Luc, does he know?
He knows about the story. He knows that I wrote the book because in the world of today, anybody who wants to know anything can find it, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I know that he stalked me a little bit online, and the book is all over my website for the chamber music series that I have, which is called Mistral Music, by the way.
Yeah.
And
which I
and it's all over my Facebook page, by the way, because I knew he was on Facebook with 0 friends except for me. And he was on there as one friend because he liked to look at my stuff. And I always talked about the book. So I knew that he knew.
Of course, yeah.
So at one point I said, look, and we weren't in touch. We were not friends. There was a tiny spider's thread of communication between us for the past 30, 40 years. Like, happy birthday or, I'm in Paris. I don't know what I would say to him. But every time I went to Paris, it made me feel like chopping him a note. Don't ask me why, is part of the crazy that I have,
Yeah.
But so we knew about the book. And I wrote him once and said, look, Jacques, by now you probably saw that I wrote a book. And I'm sorry if you feel betrayed by this, but it is my story. And I've been wanting to tell this story for 40 years. And I finally did. And don't worry, nobody will know who you are because I changed all the names.
I thought you come on the Inline Tea podcast. I just let the cat out of the bag.
Exactly.
Bonjour, Jacques.
Exactly. Anyway, but I believe, and he said he didn't think he was going to read it. But I believe that maybe by now he tried to because...
Of course he did. Come on.
Right. How can you not
Come on. Are you
want to
kidding
read
me?
a book that it's about
I would be running home that night to read it. Are you fucking kidding me? Come on.
Exactly.
And he's French. You think he's not going to read a book about himself? With the ego they have? Are you kidding me? Man, he'll have it framed. Are you kidding me? And the thing is, he'll read that book and think he's the good guy still the whole way through. I know. This is what French men are like. I know.
I don't know. No, I made him out to be a monster, and I think he will see that. And be
I don't know if
horrified.
you made him out to be a monster, or it's my own opinion of it because I'm so triggered by living in France and knowing French men so often. And it's that specific type of French man. I swear to God, there's a factory somewhere making these men because there's thousands of them. I've met so many people that hit all those buttons. I'm like, fuck, I cannot stand these people. But they would love to be mentioned in the book. He's definitely read it. He's but you haven't confirmed it with him. You haven't hear any reviews on the book.
I am not sure that he has. I'm guessing that maybe he read the good stuff, and then when it got to his arriving in Boston, when he started to be such an asshole, he might have decided he couldn't take it anymore. He even said to me, "I don't know if I'll be able to. C'est pas évident,
Yeah.
C'est pas évident. They love saying that. C'est pas évident." I said, I don't expect you to read this, and unless you want to read to 106 whatever, and then stop, then. But I said, nobody in the world...
Maybe you can watch my review instead, and then that'll do.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
Jacques, if you're listening, I think you should read the book. It's fantastic. Reads very well. It's a great read. Well, yeah, that was one question I did actually think about. I mean, I think the two aspects are obviously the flute playing aspect and then the Paris aspect. I just got totally sucked into that. And it's very relatable for me personally. Having lived in Paris and been a little bit older than that age, but still around that time, I can relate to it heavily. So for me, it was just a very personal connection to it. And also it's a fun way how I discovered the book. So there's a lot of things going on.
I love that.
I was so surprised that I enjoyed the book. Really. I mean that as a compliment, but usually it's not the kind of book I would pick up and go, I'm going to read that.
Yeah, this is amazing serendipity again. So one of my last Substacks was called The Butterfly Effect. And there are 4 stories of amazing events that all led to something that never would have happened if I hadn't left the movie or gone into a restaurant. And this is exactly one of those things. You know what I mean?
So and I mean, okay, the last thing I want to ask you just quickly before we go then is with this whole love affair and what happened and being smitten and fallen, do you think it would have happened if it wasn't in Paris?
Such a good question. Such a good question. And the answer is an absolute no. Not in a million fucking years.
I get
it. Because, people ask me that and I say, I love the question because, of course, everything was aligned. Paris, music, poetry, being 20 years old, the older Frenchman who couldn't speak English. Those things, that was the magic recipe for this kind of heartbreak. I loved, can I read you? This is the best. I love this quote from a writer that I know. Her line was, sorry. The page turner of a memoir captures with rare insight the power of music, words, and Paris to drive love to madness. That was those three things that made it this story. Can you imagine? I went to school in Connecticut, Middletown, Connecticut. This would not have happened in Middletown, Connecticut. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing about this book is it is so reflective of what it's like to be in Paris. And I know it's people, like when I tell people I lived in Paris and I start talking about it, they're always like, oh, for fuck's sake, it can't be that. I'm like, yeah, but it's impossible not to romanticize the city. And for good or for bad, it's impossible not to.
Exactly. And
it's the most romantic city in the world. It lends itself to it.
You're totally right. And just because I'm worried about running out of time, there's just one more thing I want to mention. The role that music plays in the book.
Huge.
Now, you read it on Kindle.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you ever clicked on any of the numbers. Did you ever click on one of the footnotes?
No, but I saw because there's a thing at the start with a list of all the tracks that are brought up in the book. I mean, I know most of them anyway, so.
Exactly. But if you didn't, I put them there because there's no way. Music plays such a role in the book, and there is no literal way of using words to describe the feeling that music gives you. The only person who did it that I know of is Proust. And I loved Proust when I discovered him because he talks about music. But music is what really tied us together.
Yeah.
It's not that he was French or handsome or that. It's that we shared music on such a deep level. And when that happens to somebody, you can never disassociate the person from the music that you love so much. And that's why after we broke up, every time I heard any of the pieces we had loved together, I would start bawling. I couldn't get away from that. So I want any readers who do end up buying this book to please try to look up the pieces. They're all on my author site. You just click on it and it brings you to a YouTube performance so that you can actually hear the music we were hearing at the time.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah. Again, I knew them, so I didn't need to do that, but I should probably mention that. Yeah, it is worth doing it. And also, it's nice. I think I mentioned in the review as well. It's nice to get this factually bang on from an actual musician. Because I did read a book recently where they were getting a couple of facts wrong about music, and it sucks you right out of the scene when something goes wrong. But I've studied music, so I've done fucking 155 episodes of this podcast. I know a fair thing about music.
I loved that you got the boring flutist that I lived with after Jacques and how we'd practice Midsummer Night's Dream, Daphnis and Chloe. I love that you got all those things and how boring.
Also, I love that dynamic of the boring flutist like that. That was bang. Honestly, my idea, I think when I do go to hell and I walk through the gates, what it's going to be is someone saying, right, you're going to go with another flute player, you're going to play duets for the rest of eternity. I can imagine nothing worse.
Exactly. Oh, you're so funny.
Couldn't be a flute player. Couldn't be near a flute player.
Oh, God, it was hell. 2 flute players in a basement apartment playing Cluel duets, It was just...
Oh, my God. Man, sorry, Julie, I don't want to be rude, but get a life.
For 5 years, 5 years of that.
That's penance. That's penance for eating in Paris.
I know, exactly. And the only reason I was with him is because by comparison to the married Frenchman, I thought, oh, he's okay. He's nice,
Yeah, see a pair of hands.
I hope he doesn't hear that because he's...
I know, but it's not just because of him. It's also because if it's 2 flute players, it's just, you've got nothing to discover about each other. You've got nothing to learn about each other. And you end up having the same conversations about fucking flute all the time.
It was awful. Absolutely
It's boring. It's boring.
And not only that, but he had so much work. I was brand new in town. He had so much work, he couldn't take it all, but he never once sent any work my way because he didn't want to put any contractors in an uncomfortable position. And later on, when I established myself and was playing first flute jobs everywhere, people said, why did Randy keep you such a well-guarded secret? We would have liked to know about you.
Well, anyway. You're heading away. Well, there you are. That's a best advert I could give to not date a flute player. For the love of God, guys. Go for the married Frenchman. And you'll have a story and you get a book out of it. Julie, we are going to be out of time here in a minute because I want to keep it under an hour if I can. First of all, I'm going to say from my side, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, because I was so surprised you did. I was a bit worried after my review you might not want to come on, and I'm glad you did. It's
oh my
really
God,
been
I
nice.
was so impressed with you. I love your humor and your personality. It was so much fun. So thank you for this invite.
You're incredibly welcome. And the last, I mean, this has been one enormous plug for the book, essentially. But I'm saying, like, I think it's a very true story. It's not like you've paid me to plug your book or review your book. I found it by accident and I enjoyed it. So I will say to people, go and read the book. Like, I got it in Kindle. I think I would enjoy it more in paper copy, but for the delivery purposes in Germany, it was cheap as well in Germany. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, I think it's cheap everywhere. It's $5 for Kindle and probably 12.
Yeah, it's only €5 on Kindle. So I mean, I don't want to take money out of your pocket here, Judy, but
oh, believe me, writers don't get any money from those sales online.
Yeah.
Believe me, I spent thousands of dollars just to market the book. Otherwise, no one would read it. So just so you know, it's not for the money, as you know. But you've been so great. Thank you so much for this.
You're very welcome.
Try to follow you if I can wherever you are.
Yeah, well, I'll tell everyone else to go and find you and do all the stuff.
Beautiful.
And, but
Beautiful.
Do you know what? The book is the biggest advert for you. So.